use. It's the General Unrestricted Donor Fund. And then the two specialized funds that were created by families who gave for specific reasons, that is the Lawler Fund and the Malpas Fund. So those four funds constitute the institutional funds over which the funds committee attentively works and stewards and advises the vestry, which is where the ultimate buck stops in carrying out the duties on behalf of our parish. I am the chair of the funds committee, and I am rotating off of the funds committee at this time. So I hope that you all have had a chance to look at the endowment report. We really aim to make it digestible for you. I just have one piece from that I want to show you. I'm going to enlarge this to be kind. So the part that I actually want to show you all is this big number down here. So I just put it in the, oh, whoops, sorry. As of 2020, where we met our milestone of the record distribution of $20,000 from our endowment fund, which is the largest we've ever distributed, we reached in 2020 $127,400 as the amount of good in dollar senses just from the endowment that we have poured into the various grantees. And that is from 2013 when we had our inaugural distribution, which was a tithe of John Burley's amazing gift. So 127,400, that's not actually in the report. So I wanted to get it read into record since we're recording today. I think 2020 was a year which allowed us, unbeknownst to us, but allowed us to be showed our constants. One of the things that the funds committee undertook in second quarter of 2020 was a special subcommittee was created, an exploding committee that was charged with just one task. That committee was made up of Diane Mountain and Bonnie Kutch and myself. And our job was to report to funds committee and vestry a back testing of how well our endowment and other investment funds held up during the turbulent market. A global pandemic, a bear market with a very sharp trajectory down, and then a surprising, what we call V-shape reversal of that bear market. The impact of lockdowns, enormous volatility, flash crashes, and weird things happening in the market that we call black swan events. We withstood the turbulence, financially speaking. You heard Mike talk about it from a budgetary point of view. The investments, which are valuated every day, prices go up and down all day, every day that the market is open. The investment portfolios withstood the turbulence. We went down less than the market, but our growth over the year of 2020 was excellent. In a year, in 2020, where the S&P 500 was up over 16%, our portfolio performed similarly. Our portfolio is not as aggressive as the S&P 500. Our portfolio is one of growth, like S&P 500 type companies, and also of fixed income and bonds. And we have a protocol for approximately 4% cash reserves. So even with that conservative position, which protected us from some of the downside, we were still well exposed to the growth as the market recovery, which came before the economic recovery, as the market recovery ensued. And so the subcommittee provided that report, and we mentioned it to you all in various announcements. And the NASDAQ, which is primarily tech companies, had over 40% year in 2020, as it makes sense that technology is part of what sort of led the revolution within the market and has kind of replaced oil as the main leader, the main driver of markets. We like to also share the social index, the MSCI KLD Domini 400 index, which is the 400 most commonly traded companies which meet outstanding environmental, social, or governance ratings. And that company was founded, by the way, by an Episcopal woman who's a maverick in the investment industry, Amy Dominy. So we prefer to compare our performance to like investments, which is those which favor environmental, social, and governance screens, and which exclude negatively rated companies in that arena. The Dominy 400 was up over 21% last year. Our equities performed not quite as well, but similarly. So we are in very good shape with respect to, I think, the stewardship, which includes not just our funds committee and our advisors, which includes Flo and John Schrader, and two other members are Chair of Finance, Michael Haney, and Chair of Stewardship, who's been Cynthia Wagner. And but also our financial advisor, Chris Shematek, and our portfolio managers who are charged with carrying out the duties we've tasked them with. And one of the things they did in 2020 is our asset managers, our portfolio managers, which is 1919 Investment Council, formerly Legg Mason's socially responsible investment arm, is they asked companies that were in our portfolio and that they were providing for their clients' portfolios. They asked companies to, they called on companies to take steps to protect employees and the workplace and the public, to help the recovery take place and to protect the companies themselves, the outlook with safety and PPE protocols, but also with a call to a high level of ethical management and financial duty. And I'm very pleased with what they have done on our behalf. The endowment report that's in the booklet for today, the annual report, shows you the growth that we have had within the endowment over the years. I just want to highlight here, as of the end of our fiscal year of 2020, the endowment was at over $500,000. That is this field here. By the end of the year, which is what I've been asked to share, December 30th of 2020, our portfolio was up yet again to just under 550,000. The number is there, 549,105, and it has held well since then. And you may be aware that the market has reached record highs, including as recently as the close of trading this past Friday. And so I think that we have an adornment of riches in people, in stewards, in assets, and in processes, which allow our treasure to be managed in a way that is faithful. It's not always easy. We carry some of the stress associated with those duties, but it has been a joyful undertaking, and I know it will continue to be for those who continue. The Funds Committee is our rector, the Chair of Finance, or someone he or she appoints, the Chair of Stewardship, or someone he or she appoints, and 3 at-large members who are appointed by our rector and generally unanimously accepted by us all. So I am going to stop there and see if there are any questions. And I will stop the share so you can look at something else.
The chat room, and Reverend Flo will bring forward some additions to this content.
Okay, just to continue to share a little bit about our funds committee and some of the ministry that's happening there. I have a pretty fun announcement to make, actually. Part of the polity of the Episcopal Church in the United States is something we call General Convention. It meets, thankfully, only every 3 years, which I think is probably a blessing for the church. And that General Convention really decides most of our major and important issues for our denomination. The General Convention will be meeting next summer, actually here in Baltimore, and in preparation for next year's gathering, a report is being prepared by a task force on theology of money. The report includes 15 stories from parishes and dioceses and 1 from the national church. The purpose of the report is to explain how different entities invest their financial assets as an act of living their theology. St. Bees is one of the 7 parishes invited to share our story. Imagine, Deirdre and I were interviewed by Bill McEwen of the Diocese of New York because he heard about us at a CEEP conference. That's the Consortium for Endowed Episcopal Parishes that we attend annually, thanks to Deirdre's presence, witness, and capacity to represent St. Bartholomew's. So we are one of 7 churches to be included in this pretty important report coming before the General Convention next summer. And in an email to Bill, I wrote, I find this work so encouraging and hopeful, as well as offering the potential for others to find a different path forward, so all our financial stuff honors God and the mission of the church. I am grateful you would see the need for this sort of report, and I am unbelievably proud and humbled to know that St. Bees is part of this. I hope you all are as well. I think that's a pretty cool thing for us at St. Bartholomew's Church in West Baltimore. Are there any questions, Michael, yet for Deirdre? Okay, awesome. Well, the next thing I get to do is, as the rector of the church, I get to share with you all about appointments to the Funds Committee. The Funds Committee bylaws provide for 6 members, to include the senior warden, the chair of finance, and the chair of stewardship, as well as 3 at-large members who serve a 3-year term and are appointed by the rector, rotating a new one at each annual meeting. This year will actually be 2 appointments, because at the annual meeting last fall, I asked the one who was supposed to rotate off to just stay. Please just stay, so we could be steady through this pandemic time and feel a little bit calmer and a little bit better prepared as we move forward. But today we are ready to, in fact, move forward. So I first want to thank Sandy Woodcock, who finally gets to rotate off. She has brought her knowledge of money, her commitment to our vision, but also her honesty and humor, and it has been absolutely terrific. And today I'm appointing to a 2-year term Bonnie Kutch. Bonnie has been involved with the Funds Committee for a long time as a participant, joining us whether she was a member or not. Bonnie is delightfully knowledgeable about investments, but so willing to keep learning. And she has a great grip on the history of our funds work. So she also will bring her attention to details and offer of thoughtful questions that help us rise to our best selves. And by the way, she said yes. Next, we really do need to thank Deirdre McElroy, who has been essential to our progress in this area of ministry. Deirdre first came to St. Bees to do an annual financial audit for us. And then we enticed her to be our consultant and advisor with the endowments, because this is actually her professional expertise, as you just heard her talk. And especially, she helped us begin to explore and understand socially responsible investing, or ESG, I think it's called now. And in an amazing moment, as she was teaching the Funds Committee about socially responsible investing and what we could actually do with our investments to further our vision and mission, the Funds Committee made the decision to invest everything in SRI in that moment. I think Deirdre was expecting us to commit maybe just a percentage, like most people would do, but we knew it was the right decision, and that's exactly what we did. And in so doing, we have grown our portfolio and used our assets to further our theology and passion for justice, and gained an outstanding new member in the bargain, Deirdre, who also then, of course, brought Patrick. Now it is her time finally to rotate off, and we thank her for her knowledge, conviction, guidance, and prodding as she has invested in St. Bees and our financial health. And now in her place, I am delighted to appoint Henry Oliveros He is a wonderful new member of St. Bees. He is a member of the United States Air Force who will bring for us a younger perspective to his 3-year term and help us keep our eyes on the future. Oh, and yes, he said yes too. So I think it's a pretty exciting time for us to allow some wonderful members to rotate off and 2 really exceptional new members to arrive and join us. So any questions or comments?
A question from Bill and Leah Culp about sort of how we were chosen to be invited to be one of the 7 parish reports. I don't know, Deirdre or Flo, if you want to expand on that.
Deirdre probably knows better than I do, but I can tell you at the SEEP conferences, Deirdre is a person that they turn to for the financial workshops. And so she has been an incredibly potent advocate for SRI investing at the SEEP conferences. She has had the opportunity to share the story of St. Bartholomew's. She has corralled me into some of those workshops to speak a little bit as well. And so the reputation of St. Bartholomew's began to become more pervasive at the SEEP conferences around not only the process we went through, but the decisions we've made and the ways in which we, in fact, care for our assets and the way we try to keep them in alignment with our theology. And so I'm pretty sure that it's out of that and Deirdre's experience with Bill McEwen that we got put in that list as being a congregation worthy of sharing our story.
Just one comment, if I may. Sometimes you got to grab your rector. We were having a session at the at SEEP on. I run the session on endowments, and I asked Flo to come into the session. And in that session, we had also invited Bill McCown, who's an attorney and a good Episcopalian, and as Flo said, is based in New York. And he's overseeing the General Convention Task Force on the Theology of Money. And when asked by SEEP, they asked every panelist, everyone that was organizing the sessions, who would invite him in. We said we would. And so he was able to meet Flo and hear about our process of becoming ESG or responsible investors. And he was very intrigued, and he really also wanted to have a parish of our size. Our size is not our size. You know, we are considered a small parish in many ways, but the vibrancy of our processes and of our share when we met him was such that, as you all know, it's all about relationships. And we gave him the welcome, and I grabbed our rector, and the rest is history on that one. Thank you.
Thanks, Deirdre. Any other questions or comments?
There's lots of thanks for the outgoing members and excitement about new ones.
You bet. Good. Okay, then you're on, Angel.
Thank you, Flo. Thank you, Deirdre. And thank you, Patrick, for sitting next to her and offering her support. Okay, we're going to move back to the beginning of your agenda, acceptance of last year's annual meeting minutes. The poll is now ready, correct, Michael? Got it. So we need someone in the chat room to put forward a motion to accept the minutes of the 2020 annual meeting and someone to second.
Motion's been made by Stephen Miller and seconded by the DeVales.
Thank you for the motion and the second. Now your poll is ready for your vote. You have 2 options. People are voting. There's a nice big blue line under yes. You have 10 seconds if you have not yet voted. Do we have that Jeopardy music ready, Michael?
I wish.
Okay.
It looks like we have just over 80% of participants responding, and of those, 100% have voted yes.
Excellent. And the poll is concluded. Thank you for your votes. The minutes have been from the 2020 annual meeting have been accepted. Now for the acceptance of the annual reports from 2020. I'm sure you have all thoroughly read them. And so you are going to vote on them as a group, as a collective, after we get the motion. Okay, so first we need a motion to accept the annual reports from 2020.
Dana Rose has moved to accept the annual reports
Thank you, Dana. And a second.
and has again been seconded by the DeVale family.
Are there any questions? Is there any discussion? No questions? Your poll is ready for your vote. Okay. So you are voting on to accept or not the reports submitted for the annual report submitted for 2020. Now is the time to vote.
Okay, it looks like once again we have unanimous consent, unanimous approval of the 2020 annual reports with 84% responding.
Excellent. Thank you, everyone, for your vote. So the work of the church has continued during this time of pandemic, and that includes some progress towards Project Jigsaw. Next on your agenda is an update concerning that status and some ongoing work. Dave Murray, are you there? And Robin as well.
I am
Thank you
now.
for joining us. Hello,
You get out of Dave's way.
you are on.
Okay. I'm going to defer a lot of what I wanted to say to the annual report so you can all read it. Page 31 and 32 is a pretty good, thorough report about the status of Jigsaw as we stand. And starting on page 32, going into 33 is another part of property. So I'm going to ask you all to read that, and I'm just going to add some words to that. So Flo mentioned that we've kind of started on Jigsaw, and the way that worked was the Knott Foundation came to us last year offering to give us a grant if we were still interested. And when we got with Glorious and the 40 West folks, we decided that, you know, a $15,000 grant from the Knott Foundation, in addition to maybe using some of the money that we had already donated towards Jigsaw, would allow us to do two basic things that were part of the Jigsaw plan to begin with. And that was the water remediation in the Undercroft. And in order to do that and dig up the tile around the edge, because it had asbestos in it, we had to really do the asbestos abatement first. So we went out and got some estimates, and the two of those combined were about $67,000 to do both a full asbestos abatement in the entire Undercroft. That included the tile floor, that included the pipes that were wrapped with asbestos, and then do a drain along the outside or along the inside perimeter wall all the way around, and then that would alleviate any drainage problem that we would have going forward. That in itself would allow us to deduct about $200,000 off the Jigsaw estimate, because that estimate was based on digging around the outside of the building, not the inside. So we really have we really are going to accomplish two basic pieces of the Jigsaw plan, just because the grant, the Knott Foundation asked us if we wanted some money. So the way it's going to be paid will be the $15,000 grant, in addition to some of our funds that have been transferred over to 40 West because they have to pay for it in order for the state grant of $125,000 to kick in. So we have started the work. What we have to do for asbestos abatement is to expose all of the pipes in the undercroft that are up in the ceiling or in the walls. And so I've had on 3 different occasions, crews come in and we've cut out the ceilings. We just finished yesterday cutting out the walls to expose all the asbestos, all the pipes wrapped with asbestos. And then we had a crew in last weekend. Many of you were there. I think we've had at least 50 people involved in these 4 efforts. And we moved all of the staff offices out of the undercroft, and they are kind of residing, the desks and all are in the garage. All the rest of the stuff is in the basement of the youth house. And it took 30 people, 3 hours to move all that stuff. I was just incredibly impressed with the amount of work that happened so quickly to get that work done. And so here are some pictures. Mike's gonna just flip through some of the pictures. This was the first crew that we did some of the ceiling work. Mike, you can just kind of keep flipping if you want. And yeah, this is starting to move out of the undercroft. There we go. You'll recognize a lot of people. Can't thank them all. There's your staff office, Maggie's office. Looks a little different now that everything's gone. There's Flo's office with the asbestos tiles. And Bonnie, who provided lunch for us every time. Thank you, Bonnie. And there we are. That was April 10th when we did the big move. I think everybody was more excited about seeing each other than they were getting the work done. Thanks, Mike. So we are in a position where this coming Saturday, we want to move the entire 40 West operation into the parish house. And that will complete moving everything out of the undercroft. And so 40 West will continue to operate out of the parish house. They'll do their thing. John DeVale has helped a lot with getting the communications reestablished over there. We're going to finish that this week. And I think 40 West is in good shape to operate there. Once May 10th hits, no one will be allowed in the undercroft for at least 2 to 3 weeks. They will, the asbestos folks will come in to do the abatement, and they create a contained environment with a negative pressure. So no one's allowed in or out. You won't be able to get through the red door in the back. You'll only be able to, with certain folks with certain master keys, get through the church doors on the first level. But no one will be allowed in the undercroft until that work is totally done and the air is tested and we make sure that we're back to a safe environment. And then we'll come back in and the tile will be gone, the mastic that holds the tile down, the asbestos around all the pipes will be gone. And then we will install the drain system, which once that's done, it'll also have a dehumidifying system in it. And once we get back to a working environment again, we will have probably the best air that I think we've ever had down in the 40 West or the entire undercroft, because it'll be safe. I don't know that it's ever been that safe. Big kudos to Bonnie for helping with all the food. I know Gabe Worshall helped out on an occasion, and to the 50 people who just pitched in. Some were in those pictures. It really gladdens my heart that so many people could pitch in. So I hope we see a lot of you on this Saturday, rain or shine, to move the 40 West folks into the parish house. And I'll take questions.
Yeah, and eventually it all has to be moved back in.
Oh, my wife says that eventually, don't forget, we have to move everything back in July.
Sure.
So yeah, put that on your calendar. Any questions?
Dave, I have a quick question for you first, actually. Just following up on something you noted in the property report of the annual reports regarding the water bill, and that the city looked like they were going to be conducting a water flow test sometime, hopefully before this meeting. Do we have results from that yet?
Okay, so change subjects. What brought that on was somehow I got the bill that we've been paying from the city on the water. And every month for the past 6 to 8 months, our usage has been going up. Now, we're not in the church, and yet the usage has been going up month over month over month, and we've been paying, I think, up to like $400 now a month. So I called the city, and they said, well, you need to do a water test. And when I finally figured out what that meant was, we turned the water off in our 2 buildings, in the church and the parish house, on like from 1 o'clock to 2 o'clock. And then they, on the next day, will look at their records and determine if there was still water usage while our water was turned off. I did that 2 weeks ago, and they did see water usage. So now they want to send somebody out to check the meter. And if you understand all the issues the city has had with the meters, they said that would take up to 30 days. So we're waiting for them now to come out and check the meter before we take any next steps. Does that help?
Great, thank you.
Sure.
Any other questions for Dave? Can we do anything about the radiators knocking when the insulation is removed? Or is that a separate issue being on the
Well, you can hope when Jigsaw comes that will go away, because the radiators will be replaced with new high efficient heating elements. And I don't know what that's going to be yet, but that's the idea. The knocking will go away when we do Jigsaw.
Brad, I see your question about sacred places. I think we're going to defer that to the open forum at the end, if that's all right.
Yeah, Flo will cover that, I think.
Yep.
All right, Dave, it gladdens my heart that you are so devoted to this project, tracking down that water, finding those manholes, and getting this work done. Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
Okay, Reverend Flo has announcements about on-site plans.
Okay. Thanks, Angel. So, talking about on-site, right? So as I mentioned earlier in my sermon, one week we were all here eating together, and the next week not, and not since. But certainly, it has remained a consistent concern about when and how should we be able to be safely physically on site. So even though we've been going through this very difficult time, I want to reassure everybody that it is never far from consideration. It's never far from our prayers and our musings. I can assure you it's constantly in my prayers and in my musings, and if it's in mine, then it's in the wardens and in the vestries. And so we continue to be alert, attentive, prayerful, and trying to find the best possible path forward. So part of what we have to take into account are 3 judicatories that we try to be in compliance with. First, of course, is the state of Maryland and what the state is advocating. Second, and even more importantly, is the city of Baltimore. So however the city of Baltimore is asking us to be compliant with their expectations, we would certainly do. The third one, of course, is the Episcopal Diocese of Maryland, who also has a say about how we are paying attention to this constant concern about whether and how we can be safely on site. In addition to those 3 judicatories, I just want you to know that we touch base regularly with 2 of our own members whose expertise is absolutely invaluable. One is the Reverend Dr. Ann Boyd, who is a virologist, and the other is Dr. Charlie Flexner, Johns Hopkins Hospital physician in infectious diseases and is known globally for his work in HIV and AIDS. Both of these smart, well-versed, and skilled members in the science world and in the health world continue to give us their wisdom, their understanding, and their sense of things from a perspective that is really essential and helpful. And I can assure you, of course, that the wardens and the vestry are often subject to my musings as we discuss when and how. So the key factors that have been influencing our decisions so far, above all, is number one, safety. In no way do we want to make a decision about being physically on site in any way that will put anybody in jeopardy, either for those who are on site or for those of us who come on site and then leave. We want to make sure that we are a safe environment for anybody who chooses to be on site. And also, we would hope that any actions that we do will always be in alignment with our core values and understanding of what it means to be a church. We would want to make sure that all of our choices and decisions about whether to be on site or not are in alignment with what makes us in alignment with our understanding of God's call to us and our desire to respond to that call as well as we can. So, at the moment, to be honest with you, the city of Baltimore is in the middle of a significant spike. The spikes in the city of Baltimore are back up to what they were last winter. There is lack of clarity about why that is happening right now. I don't know if it's because people are becoming complacent and not being very thoughtful, but the city of Baltimore is risen quite high again and is quite far back up in terms of the number of COVID cases. The Diocese of Maryland, just so you know, has asked at least 3 judicatories, Washington County, Baltimore County, but especially the city of Baltimore, to refrain from doing anything inside, at least for 4 weeks, which would put us into mid to end of May. And our medical experts that I referred to earlier are also cautioning against any inside regathering as a congregation, except in certain key circumstances. And I think also some ongoing concerns are that there still remains a lot of coronavirus still circulating about. It is probably a more resilient virus than we ever originally thought. And there now are some mutations about which there's some concern, especially like B1117, the British mutation. And as I just noted, we were still in the middle of a fairly large surge moving forward. So the path forward for us, I think, is the following. It has to do with the sufficient number of people who are vaccinated. I am delighted to tell you all I am now fully vaccinated. Tax day marked for me that I am now fully vaccinated. And that is a tremendous moment for me and hopefully for all of us. So I think that the path forward really requires us to continue to press for all of us to be vaccinated as quickly as we can. As I mentioned in my sermon, we have a small group of people working with the National Guard and the Reverend Dr. King to have a vaccine event here on our parking lot, hopefully within the next month or two. It's critically important we continue to wear masks, as our governor says, wear the damn mask. Even if you are fully vaccinated, I continue to wear a mask and I continue to wash my hands and I continue to keep compassionately distanced because while I may be in a better position, I don't know who I'm with and whether they'll be in a better position. And so I think that's also remains critically important, and it's important not to get complacent or just get tired of it all. In order to be in church together, we cannot sing while we are together. We have mapped out in the pews where we could all sit. We can have about 26 different entities in the church, either individuals or families or individuals who who are a pod together. But we need to recognize that if we even could be inside, that it would alter pretty considerably the way in which we engage in worship and the numbers of people we can have. So I think we need to continue to make thoughtful, wise, faithful, and compassionate decisions to protect each other, to protect you, and to protect those you love. But I do want to say, right at the moment, we are considering an outside worship service like we did with the Easter Vigil on Easter morning. So we are in the middle of considering an outside 8 a.m. service this summer. We can safely gather. Gathering outside is acceptable. We can be outside safely distanced and be able to mask and be able to make sure that we're caring well for each other. So we are considering how to do that and when that's permissible. So when the weather is nice enough, we hope that we will be able to start doing an 8 o'clock service outside. That we will not Zoom, but we will never, ever stop Zooming what we do in our later service because we are now a church far and near, and so we will continue to ensure that we can remain that way. So I ask now for your prayers and your patience, and to know that any decisions regarding on-site worship will be made with incredible care, just like we have been doing all year for all activities, actually all activities that we're doing here on site, not just our worship. So that's to give you an idea about what contributes to our having to make these decisions, what's happening in the moment right now, which is not particularly good in the city of Baltimore, and yet how can we actually, now that we're moving into summertime, hopefully be able to do something outside where we can be physically together. So, comments, questions, anybody have that you want to ask me, please feel free.
A question from Michael Haney. Do we have any idea how many of our parishioners have already been vaccinated?
We do not, and I know that it's rising nicely, and I'm very grateful for that, but we have not actually asked that question. We have not done a poll to find out how many have been vaccinated, in large measure because I think it's really important to not, I think it's really important to respect people's medical decisions that they are making. And so I think we need to be pretty careful about that kind of a question. I do, when I see you, I'll ask you, have you gotten your vaccine yet? I don't mind doing that, but we haven't decided about whether we think a poll is helpful or intrusive. So we haven't made that decision yet. If you all want to tell me how many of you have been vaccinated, that's another deal, and I'd be happy to hear that data. Anything else, Michael? Okay, well, you can always raise it up if you want to during the open forum, but I just want to say, I know that this is not easy. I really do know it's not easy. I understand that. I understand that we have people who now join us as a parish family from far and near, and that's been actually pretty remarkable. But I know that there's some amongst us who just don't do Zoom. It's just one more Zoom meeting than they can do. And I understand that it's complicated and difficult. And this whole time has been difficult. I remember when we first shut down, I thought, oh, we'll be back next summer, right? And then in last summer, I said, we'll be back next fall. And then in the fall, I said, we'll be back after a year. And I'm not making any more predictions because I'm clearly not capable of it. But I know that it's hard and I know that it's difficult. But I'm delighted that we are able to make choices and decisions that keep us safe and allow us to continue to find creative ways to continue to be a faithful community, worshiping God and doing the ministry that we're called to. So patience and some thoughtfulness will get there.
Yeah. There is a suggestion that we could take an anonymous poll just of the people who are at this meeting as to whether or not they've been vaccinated.
Can it really be anonymous?
Yes.
Okay. Are you all, so let me put it this way. If you would like to participate, you are welcome to do that. If you do not wish to, you do not have to. So this is an absolutely anonymous poll. All we're asking is, have you been vaccinated, yes or no? And again, if you do not wish to be even in that loop, I want to be really clear about this. And I also want to say, if we're going to do this, if you say no, there are a number of reasons you could be saying no, one of which is you haven't been able to get an appointment. But the other one may be that you're not ready yet to have that vaccine. You are not ready to take that step forward and have that vaccine. I want you to hear from me. There is no judgment about that. There is no criticism about that. This is a personal decision that every single one of us has to make about our health and our well-being. Each one of us is different. Each one of us has different concerns. And that's my concern about having a poll. So I want to say loud and clear, if you do not have to be part of this poll, and if you say no, it is maybe because you haven't been able to get an appointment, but maybe it's because you really are not ready, and you need to know that our arms are around you in that process, and you have every right to make the time that you need to decide whether that's something you want to engage in or not. Do I hope you will? I do, because I think the vaccine is a path to wholeness and health for the whole world. But every single one of us has to make that decision when we're ready and we have the confidence to do that. So I want to be very sure that a poll does not then layer on top of any one of us the any kind of forcefulness about getting the vaccine. That is absolutely individual, and the people I've talked to who are reticent have all good reasons for their reticence. And I think we need to give people space and time to come to that on their own. So if we're going to do it, I think we need to do it carefully. And I want to be very clear about that if we do this poll today.
I just opened it.
Oh, okay.
Um,
All right.
And it looks like 77% of people on the call have answered that they have received at least one
And
dose
how
of the
many
vaccine.
people are on the call?
68. So
Okay.
about 60 people have said they have at least one dose.
Okay, well then I would say we're probably in alignment with what the statistics are in the state of Maryland and the percentages that we are encountering. And we just need to stay the course, my sisters and brothers. We need to allow ourselves the time and the space to make sure that we can remain safe, caring of one another, attentive to one another, and making the decisions that allow us to continue to thrive as a congregation. I need to also say, at St. Bartholomew's, I am on my knees almost daily about this. Not one member of this congregation has died from COVID-19 that I know of. Have we had some members sick? Yes, we have, a handful, but not one of us as a member of a parish has died from COVID. Does that not mean that we don't have loved ones who have died? Yes, some of us have been devastated by family members and friends who have died from COVID. But as a congregation, we have not had that, that weight in that kind of way. And I want you to know I'm on my knees a lot about that in Thanksgiving. And I want to make sure that we are continuing to do what we need to be safe, be thoughtful, and to continue to support each other and wherever we are in this journey. And so we're going to be fine, right? Because why? Jesus is alive.
Thank you, Reverend Flo. Okay, we don't have too much more on the agenda, but we've been going for more than an hour. So why don't we take about an 8-minute break? Okay, 5-minute break by order of your rector. And then we'll come back for the remainder of the agenda. Okay. Let's check.
Hello?
Hello,
So you unmuted everybody.
they did.
They
So
did.
we could
So
hang
I'm
out.
Do
talking.
you know where the last,
So now we can talk about them behind their backs.
No, in front of them,
I
actually.
believe that would
Sure.
be a violation of the norms.
That's
Nice, Deirdre.
parking lot. That's your office.
Same concept.
I'm not in the parking lot then.
Hi, Deidre. Hi, Deidre.
Oh,
This is Lydia.
Hi, Lydia. It's nice to see you in your
Yes.
tennis whites.
Excuse me?
In your tennis whites. You got your cap and your white
Thank-
jacket on.
Yeah, I walked this morning.
That's
Yes.
wonderful.
Walking every day.
Hi, Lydia.
Good for you.
Hi.
Hi,
Hey, Deirdre, good
Shirley.
report.
Yes.
Dave, you are awesome.
Hey, what happened to today's church service? When's that start?
Uh,
How are those people out in the lawn in front of the church? Like ghostly figures.
Oh, that's in front of the church, half of the heads off.
Taking a
The
salad
body.
break.
Oh, yeah, salad break.
Salad break.
It looks good.
Deirdre, did you kick Patrick out of your office?
Yes, I see. Look at his office. It's all Moroccan and blue and bright and crazy. Go to the crazy.
I had to get back to my office. That's right. Get away. Go away with you.
Tom?
I'm feeding my cat.
Yeah, Kathleen, we saw your cat. Or Margaret, Shadow family, we saw your cat.
That's one good
They're
thing
home
about-
with me, Deirdre. Kathleen's somewhere. I don't know where she is.
I'm at St. Martin's in the parish house. I came over after service was done.
Oh, okay, I didn't know if you were in Virginia or Maryland or what.
Virginia this weekend, Maryland currently.
Deirdre, did you name the fox that come to your property now and then?
Oh, yes, we have named 5 of the 7 foxes.
Oh, really? There was 7 of them. Wow.
They're great.
How can you tell them apart?
Oh, we've been watching. COVID gave us the opportunity. We have 8 Ring cameras around the house and our neighbors.
Wow.
America should.
The whole thing.
We're gonna find Deirdre on National Geographic next.
Has 8 Ring cameras around their house.
Hi, Hannah.
Why the heck cameras?
Good God.
Yeah.
Awesome to see you.
We'll see this is going up on my phone.
Oh, boy.
Hey, Marty, I want to see your beard. Is it still like impressive or did it go? What happened? What? You look beautiful.
I wrote it for as long as they studied until they found the vaccine. And then I didn't even have enough time to grow a decent one as I waited for my first shot.
All right. Well, you're so clean faced. I wouldn't recognize you.
Thank you. It was at the strong urging of Miss Shirley and Miss Inez and Miss Glorious and gosh, every other blue-haired in that church. I mean,
Did you just say that? Y'all better get it.
You're in trouble now.
Who's in charge of muting? Mute him.
You're sitting next to him, Kathy. You could mute him.
He's been trying for 28 years.
Truth.
Kathy, it would have been pressed a long time ago.
We're on a 5-minute break and then we've got 1, 2, 3.
I'm back into it.
Thank you, Miss Robbins.
So probably closer to 1.
I love it.
And you just send it to her.
Brother Michael, what happened to your virtual background? Is this a virtual background?
No, this is my house. The virtual background's doing weird things. If I put it
Okay.
on, I look like a ghost. I don't know why.
We don't know. We don't need any ghosts
All that.
other than the Holy Ghost.
Kind of neat.
Okay, welcome back, everyone. Thank you for taking that short break. As you know, members of the vestry serve a 3-year term and then rotate off, and so we're saying goodbye to 5 people. Not goodbye permanently, not goodbye to their presence, just their participation on the vestry. And so we'd like to say thank you to Stephanie Brooks Wiggins, Verna Harrison, Michael Mountain, Ben Smith, and Tim Wolf. We are grateful for each of the outgoing members and their commitment, their contributions, and their compassion and sincere efforts to contribute to the mission of St. Bees. Michael, can we unmute for a moment so that people can give them a round of applause and extend congratulations. Thank you to the outgoing vestry members. They have worked hard. They have continued their work throughout the pandemic, their contributions, and but their rest is now well earned. You have in your booklet a slate offered by the vestry of incoming members on which you are going to vote as a slate. Their profiles and pictures do appear in your booklet beginning on page 6. And this is the slate that is before you. You are voting on them as a group. The bylaws of the church do allow for nominations from the floor. However, nominations are permitted provided that the person being nominated has agreed to be nominated and that individual is deemed to be a member in good standing as determined by the rector and the assistant treasurer. If there is a nomination from the floor, we would have to take a brief break so that Reverend Flo and John DeVale could confer on that recommendation from the floor, that nomination from the floor. But your slate of nominees are Josh Crockett, Aaliyah Mohammed, Margaret Shadow, and Steve Smallman. Do we take questions? We need a motion. Oh, are there any nominations from the floor? Okay.
There's a quick question about the numbers. We have 5 exiting and 4 incoming. I believe that's because we don't have a new youth candidate.
Correct. Ben Smith has decided to go to college. That is a good thing, but he will have insufficient time to focus on vestry duties, but he will stay in contact with all of us. So there is no motion needed because the vestry has put forward this slate for you.
Right, and there are no other nominations from the floor.
There are no other nominations. So there is now a poll before you. For your vote, you may vote now. That was fast. It is an excellent and diverse slate.
All right, with over 85% of respondents, the vote is 100% in favor of the new slate.
And let's give our new members a round of applause. You are unmuted. You are now unmuted. Congratulations
Congratulations.
to all the new members.
Have fun.
And just a reminder, I shouldn't be talking while people are, right, okay. Congratulations, Josh, Aaliyah, Margaret, and Steve. And a reminder to all vestry members, current and new, you have a brief meeting with the rector immediately following the closing of the annual meeting. Very brief, to stay on, and Reverend Phil will be right with you. Okay, now is the time of the agenda for open forum. This is your opportunity for all questions, concerns, thoughts that you have concerning anything covered today. Well, there was an earlier question about sacred spaces. Do you want to address that?
just to let you all know that certainly as we went into this time of pandemic, well, actually, March 8th was the last time we were all together, and it was a community conversation about Project Jigsaw and what next steps we wanted to take. We left that meeting with a general consensus that we wanted to go find the full amount of financial support we would need to do the whole Jigsaw project in one step. And then, of course, by the next Sunday, we were shut down. And Jigsaw has gone into a bit of stasis, in large measure because, as your rector, I am a little bit uncertain how to go look for $9 million when we can't sit down with heads of foundations and things of that sort. And other things have been so preoccupying in terms of the ways that we've needed to adjust and move forward. However, one of the ways that we want to do that is to work with Sacred Places out of Philadelphia, and we have been in touch with them. They are still very much willing to engage with us when it is time. I'm also delighted to say that our architects are still on board, our construction company is still on board. Everybody is ready to go when we are ready to go. And so Sacred Places will continue to be part of that with us eventually. This is a wonderful group out of Philly who help congregations like us be able to figure out how do we tell our story, how do we begin to understand how we frame who we are so that we will be a much easier funding recipient for foundations and other kinds of organizations. And so we're looking forward to doing that work. And so we've been in touch with them, but everybody understands that at least for the moment, in terms of Project Jigsaw fundraising, that we are in a bit of stasis as we continue to sort of catch our breath and figure out how we're moving forward. Okay. Anything else, Michael? Or I'm happy to answer more about that if needs be.
Let's see, we have a comment about we are so blessed to have Reverend Flo as our leader that we thank God every day. We have a reminder that we will be doing CSA again this year and a link to the sign up if anyone is interested and has not checked in yet.
Just so you all remember what CSA is, this is wonderful opportunity to buy into fresh vegetables. You can buy a share, and it's something that we offer here at St. Bartholomew's for the whole community. So it's a wonderful thing to participate in.
Okay, I think Brad wants to make a comment via speech about sacred spaces. So Brad, I'm going to try to unmute you, see if this works.
That worked. Yeah, I have known, it's actually Partners for Sacred Places, and I have known their executive director, Bob Yeager, for quite a few years. Back in the 80s, they had a major conference down here in Baltimore, and many churches participated. They had many vendors, relating to renovations and so forth. And it is a great organization. So I was really pleased to see them assisting you. And like I said, I know Bob personally. So if you have any need to get in touch, I'm willing to do that. And I wish you luck. I'm hoping to engage them for my own church when the time comes, but we're not anywhere near trying to raise $9 million.
Wow, am I on that? Thank you, Brad. That is wonderful news. And trust me, hun, we will be in touch. And we're pretty excited about Sacred Spaces. I think they're pretty intrigued by us and what we're trying to do. We seem to always be trying to do things that are beyond what anybody might assume would be normative. But I will be glad to grab you as another one of our contacts with Sacred Places. So thank you very much. Okay. Give it a chance. Okay, so this may be like one of the very few times in the entire history of St. Bartholomew's when y'all don't have 50 comments to make. But hopefully you'll always know how to get in touch with someone to share your thoughts or feelings and your ideas and your concerns, that it's not just about this one opportunity, that at St. Bede's we welcome everybody's participation at whatever level is possible.
A comment from Daphne Cover that virtual worship has been an enormous blessing during the pandemic.
Oh, thanks, Daphne. Thank you. You know, it's been complicated for so many congregations to find a particular path forward in terms of worship in this time. And every congregation has to find their own particular path, right? What works for one congregation may not work well for another congregation, and different congregations have different resources. But I think our ability to Zoom and to be engaged with each other, to be able to hear each other, to be able to talk with each other has been just life-giving at some level. So I appreciate that that's true for you, and I hope it is for most of us, and that it's keeping us connected. And I think it'll be fascinating to see how that continues once we can unmask, and how will church evolve? How will we define church in some new ways? And how do we define a parish in some new and exciting ways? So for all of the exhaustion and the energy and the intrigue about what we've been trying to do, is also all of this that is calling us up by the Holy Spirit to maybe look at some new ways of being. So I think it's going to be very interesting to see how we come out of this. But I'm glad that the worship has been healthy and strong and good. Thanks.
Yeah. Comment from Stephen Miller, who'd like to shout out to Pat Alt for keeping the CSA effort organized, promoted, doing volunteer sign up.
Indeed.
All of
Pat
that.
is their advocate.
Yep. And Dave Murray has a big shout out to both Maggie and Ted for their incredible work to keep us moving forward as well.
Mm-hmm. Okay, is that about it? Awesome. All right. Well, thanks, everybody. It really is wonderful to be able to be together, and even in this format, to be able to hear one another and to ask whatever questions we have. And again, I just want to reiterate, you know, I hope that if you ever have things that you want to share, or you're curious about, or ideas that you have, or whatever, that you will always continue to find a way to share those with whoever you think will be helpful to you. So don't ever hesitate to do that. It really matters that we continue to do the best we can together. So you're back on. One other thing. I do want to just say one other thing. I want to thank Angel, our senior warden. She has been the steady, non-anxious presence throughout this whole year, and really has just quietly kept us calm. And that's been amazing, actually. And her leadership is very much evidenced today in how she is leading us through this annual meeting. And she is well supported by Michael Sarbanes, who also brings his energy and his perspective. But then we also have the blessing of Sarah Chard, who's our registrar, who's very efficient at that, and John Schrader, who has been our treasurer, and John DeVale has been our assistant treasurer. Your officers of this congregation are just smart, wise, and incredibly skilled at what they're doing. And I wouldn't want this day to go by without just giving enormous thanks for that.
Thank you, Flo. Thank you, Michael. And I want to offer special thanks to Michael Sarbanes, who spearheaded the effort of seeking nominations for the vestry when I had to step away for a moment. But thank you, Michael, for securing that wonderful group of individuals. Your choir has prepared for you a virtual performance for the final hymn. Also in the back of your bulletin, all are welcome to join in. Page 41. Thank you, everyone, for your attendance and your participation. You may log off, but vestry members do remain on for a brief meeting with the rector. Thank you.
Nicely done.
All right, I'm just going to kick out the rest of the people who are on here and aren't vestry. Give us a moment. Yes, I know who's vestry. And Josh Crockett is on, but does not have video. Correct. There's Josh. All right. Okay.
Okay.
I think this is who we have.
All right. Good to go?
Yep.
All right. Hi, everybody.
Let me let everybody unmute themselves now. All right.
Okay. Hi, everybody. Welcome. It's nice to see you all. And wow, I know it's been a long day of a lot of Zooming for those of you who've been on since 9:30 this morning, off and on, but thank you so much. And I hope you found the annual meeting intriguing and helpful as we think about how we're moving forward. Mostly, I just want to welcome those of you who are new. How cool that we have Margaret and Steve and Josh on the vestry, and Aaliyah, who's on vacation in Florida, can't join us, but still, how wonderful to have you all join us on the vestry. So welcome. It's lovely to have you. It's just very, very cool. And thanks to our bylaws, today we have enough members of the vestry to do the one thing we always do following our annual meeting, and that is to elect our officers. So that's our whole task for today. And so as your rector, it is my privilege to place in nomination the officers who will serve for the next year. And so I'm delighted to say it's the exact same slate. There's nothing new there. So as senior warden, it would be Angel Jackson. Michael Sarbanes as our junior warden. Sarah, yes, as our register. Thank you, Jesus. John Schrader has agreed to be treasurer, and John DeVale has said, yep, he'll continue to be assistant treasurer. So we will be blessed during this time of with leadership that is steady and consistent and has been present. So I need somebody to move that acceptance of that slate.
So moved.
Second.
Okay, who moved it? Bonnie, you moved it. Steve, you seconded it, if that's okay. All right.
Nisette
Oh,
moved it.
Nisette moved it. All right, Nisette moved. Steve seconded. Any
Gordon
comments?
also seconded.
Okay, cool. Thank you, Gordon. Any comments or concerns anybody has? Okay. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, nay. Abstain. Yay, we have we have our officers. Thank you all very much. I also want to just quickly remind you all that our next vestry meeting is not going to be this coming Tuesday. We felt that that was just overkill after today. So while we have 2 vestry meetings scheduled each month because of Zoom and its exhaustiveness, we're going to wait and have our next vestry meeting not this Tuesday, but the following Tuesday. I can't remember the date. I think it's like the 27th.
27th.
27th, thank you. Now you know why Margaret's on the vestry. So it'll be on the 27th. You'll hear from the senior and junior warden in time for that. And so it'll be, I think we all just need a break right now. And this may give some of you who are newer to the vestry a chance to sort of get your wits about you as you prepare for that vestry time. I want to just reiterate that being new to the vestry, it takes time. It's not something you're going to know right off the bat. You have to have you'll begin to get a sense of how we function and all that kind of stuff. So just take a deep breath, know that you are welcome, and it's going to be great fun to have you. We do have a vestry retreat scheduled in May on the 15th, I believe it is. That we'll be talking about that at our vestry meeting this month, about gathering together for a day. And we won't be going away this year, but gathering together for a day, and whether we're going to do it by Zoom or in person. So it kind of depends on how people are feeling. Okay, I think that's it. Any questions or concerns anybody has?
I had a quick question, Reverend Flo. With it only having one vestry meeting this month, then is it the same time on the 27th, or would it be a little bit longer to make up for time?
I am really hopeful it's the same amount of time, trying to keep us mindful that we don't want to be meeting for 50,000 hours at a Zoom meeting. So our hope is that we'll be able to do it very expeditiously and pretty quickly. We should have, Sarah has the vestry minutes ready to go out from March, right, because it's April. We've now finally have actually a financial report to give, which is important because it's the end of the quarter, first quarter. And then there are just a few other things that I think we'll talk about, but I'm hopeful that we will be able to move pretty expeditiously through that vestry meeting, and we won't be staying in perpetuity. Okay.
Sounds good. Thank you.
Yeah, we're going to do our best, right? If the rector would shut up, it would probably help.
What time does vestry normally meet?
We open at 6:15, Steve, so people can come in and schmooze a bit and sort of just say, hi, how you doing? And we just sort of connect with each other, and then Angel launches at 6:30. Everybody okay? All right, anyway, and then we try to launch at 6:30. I can tell you that at this meeting, we'll be reviewing our norms just to make sure that the norms that we have are the ones that this new vestry would like to have. And then, as I said, we'll try to get you the agenda well in advance so we can be prepped and ready to go. Okay? Anything else? Have a great afternoon, you all. I'm really excited about what we're going to be doing together this year. It's going to be pretty cool. So I'll see you guys in a week, if not, I'll see you maybe before, like next Sunday. All right, take care, everybody. Blessings.
Have a good week, everybody. Stay safe.
It's a minute.
Have a good week.
Okay. Bye, everybody.
Take care, guys.
Blessings.
Bye.
Bye-bye. Thanks. Take care.